All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about metals. And metals are one of the most commonly seen materials in our everyday lives. And they are also one of the most important materials for our civilization. Essentially, it was metals that took us out of the Stone Age and make our modern civilization possible. So we use metals everywhere. We drive in metal cars, we drive on metal bridges, and we live in buildings with metal infrastructures. But eventually, all metals are going to get rusted and decay. So if you think about this, the technology behind metals has not really evolved very significantly since the early civilization. So today, we still use metals for almost similar reason we always have. And we use them for protection, for casing, for decoration, and for infrastructure. And if we think about metals today, and they are actually rather low tech. So what do you think about high tech? There will be computers, your smartphones, and electronics, and all of which are based on microelectronics and CPUs. And the material-wise, they're actually semiconductors. Okay. But if you think about, take a look at this periodic table, you notice in the red color, and semiconductors only occupy a tiny fraction of the elements known to us. Okay? And for the rest, this gray color, and vast majority are metals. Okay? And so we have so much variety of metal. Just think about this. If we can do so much with so few semiconductor elements, okay? And imagine how much we can accomplish with all these metals if we can put our minds to it. So essentially, what we do in my lab at University of Rochester is we try to develop new technologies to transform metals and make metals high tech. And the key to do this, lasers. Okay? And so this is one technology we invented a number of years ago. So essentially, we use lasers to process a metal surface. And essentially, we can turn a shiny piece of metal pitch black, so you can see here. And the reason the metal is black is because it absorbs all light that shines upon it. There's no light reflect to your eyes, so therefore it's black. Okay? We didn't paint the metal. So essentially, what we created are some tiny structures at micro and nano scales. They are very, very tiny. And here, the image you see behind me is certainly hugely magnified. Okay? And essentially, it is these structures that basically just absorb all light and make the metal black. Okay? So anytime when light collection is needed, black metal can be useful. For example, on one hand, and because more absorption, we can make better solar absorbers. On the other hand, and you can even make better stealth technologies because the detecting wave will not be able to get reflected from a black surface and get detected. Right? So after the black metal technology, we also push our technology one step forward, and we create this so-called color metals. And essentially, the color metal will reflect a certain color of light, so it gives you this colorful appearance. And after we changed the optical properties, and we actually asked ourselves if we can capture light, which is fairly intangible, what else can we capture, right? And we know oftentimes art actually precedes science. So this is a painting by M.C. Escher. So on this painting, if you look very closely, it only makes sense if water runs uphill so that it can form a loop for this waterfall. Okay, we know this is in Escher's mind, this is an optical illusion. But let me ask you this question again. Is it really impossible for water to run uphill? So let me answer this question by playing this video. So this is a technology we created a couple of years ago. So you can see we actually transform a regular metal surface to super wicking. So it attracts water, and essentially the water will run uphill against the gravity. Okay, so therefore, maybe Escher's painting is not necessarily just an illusion anymore. So what can we do with the super wicking surface? And one application is electronics cooling. And today, maybe many of you have already noticed in the past 10 years, computers, the speed of computer has plateaued to a certain speed. The reason for that is we can actually make much faster computer and CPUs, but the faster CPU will generate so much heat, eventually will burn itself. So if we apply this super weakened surface onto the microelectronics, we can spread the liquid cooling across the surface very quickly and take the heat away, and therefore we can make a faster computer possible. Another application we can think of is if we can pattern a surface with the super weakened structures, and this structure actually will guide the flow of liquid the same way as copper wires guide the flow of electrons, okay, microchip. And therefore, so think about if we apply this for bioanalysis for the blood work, and you don't have to have, and then the blood can be precisely channeled to the microanalysis scissors, and then you don't have to have vials after vials blood drawn, prick out finger, maybe you are done, right? So after the super weakened technology, so we actually trying to come up with the counterpart technology to repel the water. So here you can see this is the most recent technology we developed. So the surface essentially becomes super water repellent, as we call it, super hydrophobic. It just pushes water away. So what are some applications we can use this super hydrophobic surface for? And if a surface repels water, it will also prevent ice formation as well. And many of us probably have the experience in the cold winter months, sitting in the aircraft, waiting for de-icing. And if we apply this technology on the aircraft wings, probably we can have this will do a thing of the past. So on the other hand, also think of corrosions and rust formation, a huge problem for a lot of industries. I understand if you drive your car for maybe 10 years, get rusted, you might want to replace anyway. But in some situations, you simply cannot afford to have this happen. Look at this image behind me. So if a failure in an oil pipeline eventually can catastrophically impact our environment and turn a pristine ocean into an oil tank, okay, that's certainly something we don't want to happen again. So if we apply our super hydrophobic surface in the critical parts of the oil pipe, and we can dramatically reduce the risk, and we don't have to live through something like this again. Right? So today, we have over 7 billion people live on this earth. And we all need clothes, all need a place to live, and we all need goods to supply our everyday lives. But think about the background, factories and machinery. And they run in 24 hours. And the machinery needs to be cleaned with waters and chemicals regularly for keep up the performance. But think about all the chemical runoff from this cleaning. So if we apply this super hydrophobic surface to build this machinery, probably we can dramatically reduce the chemical runoff and maintenance. Okay. And also, we know today, actually, there are about 40% of the world population still don't have adequate sanitation facilities. And each year, 1 million children die from poor sanitation. Okay? So if we apply this superhydrophobic self-cleaning surface onto for waste management, so we can have a much cleaner world to live in. Maybe 10 years ago, I was still a stereotypical scientist. I could stay in my lab and spend hours after hours trying to figure out what is the deeper meaning of an electron moving 2 degrees to the left or 2 degrees to the right? And I can just consume myself by that. But in the past few years, by working with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in developing the technology I just showed you about the superhydrophobic self-cleaning surface and for global sanitation applications. So I had the privilege to see many pressing issues this world has to face. There are people still living in poverty, and there are a lot of actually hard environmental issues we have to deal with. So one day I asked myself, should I just go back to my own world and continue on research that maybe fascinates only myself, or shall I push myself into a daunting task of tackling the global issues that I know I will never be able to fully accomplish? And that is a decision I never look back from. I think if all of us will walk out of our own cubicles and face the bigger issues collectively, just imagine how much we can do as a whole for this world. Thank you.